In early 2026, the geopolitical landscape of Latin America shifted dramatically with a bold U.S. move that echoed the spirit of the Monroe Doctrine. On the 3rd of January 2026, U.S. Special Forces launched a precise nighttime operation in Caracas, capturing Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. They were flown directly to New York to face long-standing federal charges related to narco-terrorism and drug trafficking. President Donald Trump announced the action triumphantly, declaring that the United States would effectively run Venezuela for the foreseeable future, overseeing a transition, rebuilding its crumbling oil infrastructure, and ensuring the country's vast resources benefit both Venezuelans and American interests. This wasn't just a targeted arrest. It represented a revival of classic American influence in the Western Hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine, first articulated in 1823 by President James Monroe, warned European powers to stay out of the Americas, establishing the region as the U.S. sphere of influence. In Trump's second term, this idea has been dusted off and modernized, sometimes jokingly called the Monroe Doctrine, to counter not just old colonial powers but adversaries like China, Russia, Iran, and Cuba. Venezuela became the flashpoint. For years, Maduro's regime had allied with these nations, allowing Russian and Chinese investment in its oil sector, while the country descended into economic collapse, hyperinflation, mass migration, and humanitarian crisis. U.S. officials argued that Maduro's government fueled drug trafficking through groups like the Cartel de los Soles and destabilized the region. The operation, dubbed Absolute Resolve, involved airstrikes on select targets and a swift snatch and grab raid. Maduro's capture removed the figurehead, but the broader Chavista power structure, loyalists in the military, security forces, and bureaucracy remained largely intact. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was swiftly sworn in as acting president. In the weeks that followed, interim government made rapid concessions under intense U.S. pressure, releasing hundreds of political prisoners, dismantling some social programs tied to the old regime, privatizing parts of the oil industry, and even exporting crude to new partners like Israel, while cutting support for Cuba. The real prize: Venezuela's oil sector. The country holds the world's largest proven reserves, mostly heavy crude ideally suited for U.S. Gulf Coast refineries. Production had plummeted due to mismanagement, corruption, sanctions, and lack of investment post-capture. The Trump administration moved aggressively, lifting key sanctions, issuing general licenses allowing major companies like Chevron, BP, Shell, Eni, and Repsol to resume and expand operations, authorizing U.S.-origin diluent sales, and setting up mechanisms to control oil exports and revenues through a U.S.-managed fund. Trump has spoken of selling tens of millions of barrels from storage, aiming to drive global prices down while funneling proceeds toward reconstruction and stabilization. The goal is clear: reorient Venezuelan oil away from adversaries like China and Russia, boost U.S. energy dominance in the Americas, and prevent migration waves driven by economic despair. This ties into broader Monroe Doctrine-style pressure across the region. Cuba, long reliant on Venezuelan subsidized oil, now faces renewed isolation, oil blockades, threats of regime collapse, suggestions from figures like Senator Ted Cruz that multiple authoritarian governments could fall in months. The US is signaling that hostile foreign influence, whether from Beijing's loans, Moscow's military ties, won't be tolerated in its backyard. Critics call it reckless imperialism, a violation of international law, and a risky return to gunboat diplomacy without a clear plan. Democracy supporters see it as decisive leadership, decapitating a narco regime, opening economic opportunities, and restoring American preeminence. Yet uncertainty lingers. A month on, Venezuela remains fragile. Interim leaders balance U.S. demands with Chavista hardliners. Economic volatility persists, and true democratic elections feel distant. Polls show many Venezuelans view the direction positively, with hope for figures like opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, but security concerns and infrastructure decay could derail progress. The US bet is that controlling the oil spigot gives leverage for lasting change. This moment marks a pivotal chapter in US-Latin America relations, one where energy security, great power competition, and regime influence collide. If you are following these fast-moving geopolitical shifts, from Venezuela's transformation to broader tensions in the hemisphere, hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update on how these events reshape global power, energy markets, and international alliances. Like this video, if it helped you understand the bigger picture, drop a comment with your thoughts. Do you see this as smart strategy or dangerous overreach? And share it with anyone interested in world affairs. Thanks for watching, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one.